Hello everyone. Welcome to NJC Podcast Series. Today we have our Director of Engineering in NJC Labs, Sivadas K Ramdas is with us. Hello Shiva.
Hi,
Welcome to the
Bejoy.
podcast.
Yeah,
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. How about you?
Yeah, I'm very well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. So today we'll discuss your favorite subject, training.
Awesome. So then you should call me Shiva. That makes, yeah. Because that's how
Yes,
my
whenever
students
there
know
is
me.
training, yes, we'll call you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had a discussion with Sandeep on one of the podcasts about foundation training,
Yeah.
fundamental trainings, and how we deliver trainings with
Mm-hmm.
Salesforce, and how we also deliver bespoke training. We
Yes.
create custom content and
Mm-hmm.
deliver or enable customers based on their demands, and which is also industry focused.
Yep.
Now we have the similar program for architecture as well, and that's
Yes.
where
We do custom trainings, right? Custom enablement program for architecture.
that's
um,
right. Yeah. So that's
for
where I thought,
customers. Yeah.
yeah, I'll ask you to share your experience. And I also, when I was training in the past, right? So I come across various scenarios where I thought the community and integration community in general should be aware of the difference between platform architecture and solution
Solution architecture,
architecture. So
yes.
that is one of the key areas, and that's where MuleSoft has done a brilliant job in designing these two architecture courses itself.
Yep.
One targeting for platform architects or
Mm-hmm.
maybe senior and enterprise architects.
Senior enterprise architects and platform architects.
And then another solution architecture course which is targeting the
for
integration
the technical
architects.
integration
So
architecture.
today maybe we'll discuss a bit more about that and
Yes.
the how that course is structured and how we create bespoke content for customer needs, etc. So
Mhm.
that's the fundamental objective.
Uh-huh.
And then maybe this can be also we can provide our own experience on how integration architects
Mhm.
should develop their career um, from a technology perspective, right?
Yeah.
So that's objectives of this discussion, right? So let's see
Mm-hmm.
how far
That's good. Yeah.
how we can give a value add for integration architects in general. So that's
So one topic that you mentioned, right? So there is a distinction between the platform architecture and the solution architecture. Just like when we look at any cloud platform, such a scenario do exist in MuleSoft, and many customers and many architects are not aware of it. And if you look at like some of the failed projects like that we recovered, right, or rescued, so many of those projects, right, it's platform architecture that went wrong, right? So the like it's important like customers who are getting on board into any platform are well versed with the platform and understand the platform capabilities from the platform architecture point of view. So definitely like that's where the strategy lies, and they should be aware of the platform's capability when they are going to implement individual solutions, right? Individual integration solutions, use cases, and so on. APIs, for example, should be also aware of what are the capabilities and limitations that comes with their particular subscription, right? We've seen this happening multiple times, right? So the like from uh, from like the implementer SI partner point of view, most of the time I've seen like this line is like literally blurred for them,
Yeah.
and yeah, so that's what we do cover. Like from the official training programs, we enable like thousands of architects right by now. Like our course enable partners, enable customers, and so on, and that's still going on, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, the official trainings, like through the official trainings, we are enabling as much as we can, but still problem exists, like because most of the time, like end of the day when the implementation starts, it may be like like somebody who's not certified or who has not gone through an official
Yeah.
training goes into the implementation and things go
Yeah, so
south after that.
two points to highlight here, right? So there is a obvious distinction
Yeah.
between platform architecture and solution architecture,
Yes.
and you need to be trained separately.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the points to highlight here, and all the discussions will be based on that. Now, let's zoom in into platform architecture, right? So, what's in platform architecture? That's your area of expertise, I would
Yes,
say.
right. Yeah, but at the same time, right. So when we look at the endpoint platform architecture course, and specifically the course point of view, okay, So not just the platform now. When we look at the course itself, we do conduct like architecture Kata workshops in that, right? So, which allows students to like get into designing high-level platform architecture and so on. But it is more aligned with enterprise architecture. So like there is a clear distinction in enterprise architecture. You have the strategic aspect as well as the tactical aspect of enterprise architecture, whether it is like a Zagman or TOGAF or any framework you use. Uh, a Rainy Point platform architecture aligns with the strategy in short term and long term goal for what the organization needs. And in order to prevent like integration projects and large digital transformation projects, from failing, right? So to prevent that from happening, the MuleSoft has a prescribed practice that should be implemented in an organization. It's a must-have. So that's the Catalyst practice, Catalyst framework, the knowledge base that comes with it, the playbooks, and the C4E enablement team, right? So Center for Enablement, the core team that literally drives and governs this entire transformation journey. So um, these things are there, but without proper training, like it's very hard for anyone to understand these concepts and put it in practice as well. Right?
Yeah. So the main focus there is one is strategy part of it. So for enterprise architects, so if you look at this target audience of these two lines, right? Uh, to what
Two courses, yeah.
two courses or whatever, right? So the platform architecture is more targeted towards enterprise architects, and then the integration solutions is more targeted towards leads or more technical,
more into
technical
someone
audience.
like who's hands down every
Technical
day.
architects,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Now there's let's go into platform architecture now. Now, from an enterprise architecture perspective, they are the ones who understand the vision of the organization, long-term
And the
vision.
big picture. They see the big picture, like what systems are there, like like in a given organization, give or take, like there will be like thousands of applications. Like if it's a large scale enterprise, even if it's a small scale enterprise, we are looking at like the numbers like somewhere around 100 at the minimum, right? And obviously only these folks like who are at the ivory tower, like that's the terminology like Gregory Hope used. But yes, these people are the people who knows like what is where, because in some of these systems they put in place like maybe like 15 years ago or 10 years ago, right? They jokingly says that, okay. And only they know, right? So how and what will work and what doesn't work, right?
But then they have a very important role to play from an organization perspective. But then what I often find is they don't have this 2-3 days time to spend in this enablement course, because without they going through this course, they don't know what's the capability of the platform.
Yeah, interestingly,
That's the biggest problem in my case, because unless they know the capability, they cannot drive this. They cannot. They have to be the evangelist of these integration platforms. If they are investing in an integration platform like MuleSoft, they will have to be an evangelist of this platform too, so that other architects, other leads.
That's another challenge of doing an architecture training is, right? So nobody likes death by PowerPoint, right? So most architecture trainings are more or less like too many PowerPoint slides and too many information that is floating by without like context, right? So that's where like all the trainings that we do is different, right? So
that's where
we
generate our own bespoke content to be more collaborative with the technical, the audience we have, right? Enterprise audience. And we
of course I'm not saying like the MuleSoft training is death by PowerPoint. We make it really interesting, like the 3 days it zooms by for the students. But yes, of course they have to be there like for those kind of sessions. Because
it's also useful to drive this from their own industry perspective, right? So a lot of enterprise architects comes from a lot of experience, and mostly they will be focusing on a particular industry. So if we can train from that industry perspective, it'll be really a value add for them, and they can relate to their experience very well. Right?
So like I can give you like an immediate example for this, right? So one organization which was a heavy user of SAP, right? So a heavy user of SAP on-premise, like the R3, R6, and so on, and the on-premise integration platforms, the PIPO, right? And we had like architects coming from there, right, for the training. So one challenge for them is to get out of the SAP mindset, right? So they are now going for MuleSoft as the chosen integration platform. So it has to connect with SAP. At the same time, they were looking for like what all things they can do with the endpoint platform, which they used to do with PIPO, right? So first thing, like we had to, like when we are delivering this training, right? So these students like always have like so many concerns and questions because these things used to happen in this way, but when it comes to the microservices world, things are happening in a completely different perspective, right? So we have to give them that understanding, like, okay, this is how things work, okay, at scale, because what you are doing is like not a limited like drag and drop for components. It is done in a certain way, it is designed in a certain way, this has got such and such design philosophy behind the scene, and it gives you guardrails, right? So it's not like you're just writing random code and putting something like shooting I don't know, into a blind spot, but it is actual code with a lot of thought process that has gone in, even if you're dragging and dropping. So that is the level of stability you're getting also out of song. So most of the time, like initially, like it is to breaking the old mindset and reshaping that mindset to adopt new technologies, right? So once we cross that barrier, right? So once that we cross that rejection barrier, then they start to embrace the technology, and we have like plenty of students, right? So who has done exceptional jobs, like it's like
Right.
real transformation skills, and I think we also have like one CTO of the year award also for one of the student. Yeah, so yeah.
Okay, excellent. So,
Mhm.
um, so in terms of so now we discussed about platform architect, the target audience, the enterprise vision they need to have. Now you also mentioned about a delivery framework called Catalyst, right?
Mhm.
So that is important because without an approach or a framework, it is hard to implement a solution like an integration platform.
Mhm.
Um, so MuleSoft provides this delivery framework called Catalyst, right?
Mhm.
And that's included in the platform architect. And how do
Yeah.
you normally train this? Because that's very important then for the success of the projects.
Yeah, so typically, right? So when we are in greenfield, like normally, like our engagement as NJC normally starts at the pre-sales area as well, right? So we work closely with the customers from the pre-sales time itself, and most of the time, like the customers will not have a clarity like what to do, right? They have so many integration problem, which one to solve first, right? And what should be the approach they should take? So wherever like we are engaging in the pre-sales, right? So we are educating the customers ahead of time to know the capabilities of the platform, and we do the hand holding initially. And like once we are like in the like once the customer procures the product, we do the initial framework implementation as per the best possible standards possible. Like a minimal our official training is more than sufficient for the customer to pick up from that point,
Mm.
right? But that's like we have done, like at that point we have enabled the customer to an extent that this is easy for them. But on the other hand, right? So on the other hand, like if a customer is going to do it all alone, like a solo journey, right? So maybe like because of a budgetary constraint or a regulatory requirement says that okay, that only folks can do it. Like for especially like the federal government projects, right? So not everyone can go and implement it. So there they have to be prepared first, right? So we arm them, right? So we like we do both the platform architecture and solution architecture. Um, Bespoke training, like we cover more aspect what is specific to the like that's the custom training programs, right?
Yeah. And
Where
from a
we
catalyst perspective, we
yeah,
the
and for the catalyst perspective, what we do is like this is more covered in the application network course, right?
yeah.
So we take care API-led connectivity fundamentals. We from there like we branch into the playbooks, individual playbooks, and we focus on how to successfully deliver Catalyst from a CI/CD or DevSecOps perspective. Okay, because that's the essential tool chain that sits in between that allows the customer to enforce governance across, right? Now Catalyst has so many principles, like if you like in architecture we have the rule, right? So there are like hundreds of rules, but if you play by the book we'll not reach anywhere, right? So we break some rules, we bend some rules. So but before you do that, you need to know what are the rules, right? So that's what we do in the Catalyst part. All the 6 playbooks comes with a lot of information, but during the training, we give the perspective what is relevant and what is irrelevant, what is important, what is unimportant, what should be prioritized, what should not be prioritized, and how to start from point A to and how to get into point T where you're targeting, right? So we cover that aspect in our application network course, obviously. But yes, more or less, like we also do this as our consulting practice as well, right? So we have established multiple C4E practices also.
Okay. And
Customers.
so one of the C4E Center for Enablement, right?
Mhm.
So it's not a center of excellence we had before. So
Yeah.
the C4E team, Center for Enablement, it's a cross-functional team with all these different roles, mixed enterprise architects, integration architects, platform architects. They come together and join.
Unfortunately, Bejoy, like this is where another problem we are seeing in the market, right? So MuleSoft design philosophy itself was democratizing integration, right?
Mm.
Integration is no more like a specialized subject which should be only residing in a specific group of people, but rather it should be available for everyone, right? And even like with the latest onboarding of agentfuls and things, right? So if you look at it, like anybody can integrate or anybody can utilize the integration capability. So that's where the MuleSoft product design philosophy itself is. And even like the platform subscription is not based on users, right? It's on what you actually consume, right? Resource based, not how many users are getting onboarded, right? So that philosophy is missing all the time. Okay.
Yeah.
And unless people don't embrace that philosophy, right? It's very hard to put the real C4 in an organization. It always ends up with a center for excellence than a center for enablement.
Yeah. So if it becomes a center of excellence, right?
That
Instead of
becomes a bottleneck.
yes, that's a problem then. So that will again create all the issues which we
New
had in the
problems,
past,
yeah.
right? And you don't have the vision. If you don't know the long-term strategy, then your mindset is tactical always.
Yeah.
You end up doing again point to point
Mhm.
instead of a reusability architecture.
Yeah.
There is no principle of this. So that's what we are trying to solve with the Center for Enablement team, and that team will be evangelist. They teach us about this idea of reusability and API-driven approach within the
Now,
organization. So that's missing.
the catalyst training, we don't have to deliver it for a lot of folks, right?
Yeah.
It's for that key stakeholders, and within an organization, like it may be like 9, 10 senior architects,
Yeah.
obviously, most
Yeah.
of the time.
Yeah, 9, 10 is very large organization.
Very large
Maybe, yeah.
organizations, and even like it's the CTO, CEO, enterprise architect, and senior architects. Like those are the folks that will be normally coming in to these trainings. Uh, those are the folks who should be knowing, right? They
Mm.
maybe not be doing like anything hands down, but every decision that they make has an impact, right?
Yeah, and that covers also things like, say, different approaches in data modeling, the difference between a, CDM, like a canonical data model versus a bounded context
Domain-driven
data.
designs, right?
Domain-driven design. So that's important. Otherwise, again, when you do integration, if you don't know what are the projects which are in pipeline, and then if you
Mhm.
create data model differently for different projects, then there is no reusability.
Yeah.
So you need to look at the reusability not just from an API perspective, but the integration perspective, data model perspective. There are a lot of things to think about, and that's what C4E becomes really important.
Now, we do cover a lot of on the data modeling part in our application network training course, right? Um, Even to an extent, like we do some simple data modeling exercises in the official courses, but to a larger extent, only like an organization and the people in the organization knows exactly what data model they need, right? I've seen like recently, like in a large healthcare project, standardization was a big challenge, right? Even there exists a standard like for healthcare, like like FHIR, FHIR, R4 and R5. These are like the de facto standard when it comes to RESTful APIs. But there are multiple approaches to it also. You can take a resource-based approach, or you can also take a bundle-based approach. Each architecture style has its own merits and demerits, right? unless you are not well versed with, these data models at the low level, what it brings to the table, how to extend these data models without breaking the entire systems, you end up duplicating things every day. So data models going wrong is duplicate number of APIs, right?
Yeah. So I think then the rest of the topics in this application network, or which is the platform side, is mainly around observability, then monitoring, and
How to get it right in the first place.
yeah, and then doing a technical architecture from an infrastructure perspective, right? So this is what covers from a very high level in the platform side. Now, when we go to the solution side, integration solutions architecture course
That's the
from
tactical aspect
that's
of.
how do you solve a integration challenge,
Yes.
right? So integration patterns is of course the main focus area.
65 design patterns to
Yes.
start with. 65 integration patterns, sorry, not the design patterns. That would
Integration
be.
patterns, yeah. So that's the main difference, right? So platform, you focus more on this enterprise architecture side of things, whereas more tactical things are covered in the integration solutions. And there, what I found is that's where you need technical expertise, and you need to be really good in what each component, what are the components in any point platform, and what are the speciality of each components and what it offers you. And I often find that when you go deeper into these components, every configuration matters. Say for example, if you take a object store, transient versus persistent.
So.
I don't think everyone knows it, right? So that's where people needs to be really good at. And
Yeah.
do you have experience?
Okay, so normally, like, see, when it comes to MuleSoft, it's a highly engineered solution, right? It's not like a random tool, right? It has evolved over a period of time. It's running on top of enterprise grade Java, right? So Spring, and now like the latest Spring and Java 17, right? So we are moving into that these years. So first and foremost, like every developer, every architect should know what is Mule under the hood, right? How it works, how it evolved over a period of time, what were the design limitations, and then what was overcome in these new designs, like Mule 3 to Mule 4, for example, right? So a lot of change happened. It is irrelevant now, but when you look at from a longer point of view, right? So longer perspective, you see like things that will work and things that will not work, right? And there's one part like how the Mule runtime itself work. Then each low code, no code components, right? These are all flexible components, not like like put it in a sandbox. Like this is its limitations, boundary. All these things have extensive capabilities. How to leverage them within the constraints of your platform, right? So you can do a lot of things in CloudUp, but you cannot do the same thing in RTF. You can do certain things in RTF which you cannot do in CloudUp, right? And you can do n number of things when you move into a hybrid environment where you get like complete flexibility, but it comes with a cost, right? So what are the trade-off in all these three areas? Unless you don't know the end-to-end how a typical Mule application and its individual components manifests within the Mule runtime, you cannot build a good solution. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's
And
where we
of
need to be
course, unit
smart.
testing all the way around, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where simple examples like a caching strategy configuration, significance of that when you just enable a checkbox and when you not enable that checkbox, where it gets stored,
Yeah.
and if it gets stored, what is the latency behind that? And it again depends on where you deploy, like you said, whether RTF or CloudUp, it has got different implications. And if you don't know these things, then the impact is going to be in the non-functional side.
Pop question. What is the default behavior of an object store?
That's in memory.
Default?
Persistent.
It's persistent.
That's VMQ. Sorry.
The VMQ is the transient one, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. So we
I
are
don't
doing
know.
this like for so many years, right? But still, like sometimes, but yeah, when we are in like hands down and doing things like it's automatic, but
So then the question what I was coming into was, so the non-functional requirements it impacts the non-functional requirements.
yes.
So, for example, the performance, latency, all that matters when you, let's say, for example, if you keep it persistent by
Yeah.
default is checked, which is persistent.
Yeah.
It stores in a backend data store somewhere, and that will have a latency.
See, that's where like the solution architecture and platform architecture has a relationship and an impact, right? So, for example, just for example, like take an example. When you are doing a runtime fabric architecture, that falls into platform architecture, obviously, right? The platform architect forgot to put a persistent gateway. It's very simple, right? And he may have made the decision to reduce the cost, or maybe because of some constraint, or didn't fight enough for it. Okay, obviously, I would say like the architect didn't fight enough for it. Now, what is the implication that rolls into the solution, right? Now, unless this guy like who is building the solution is not clusterizing the application, and not doing a rolling update, there is always a risk of state loss, right? You may miss a watermark, for example, and let's say like an entire cluster failure, you have complete data loss, right? Now, unless you don't know how that object store behaves in that environment, how that VM queues works in that environment, how the workload is getting distributed in that environment, uh, you cannot build an efficient solution. Your
Right.
core, like you can still build a solution, but it will be using like this scheme and this CPU, and and
Yeah.
and nobody will be able to like reduce that core consumption, right?
Yeah, so streaming. So these are the things which we go a bit more detail in the integration solution, like streaming,
Yes, absolutely.
reliability, availability, transactions.
Do you remember like one exercise we asked the students to do? Like we give them a code and ask them to do a review and figure out like what all things are wrong in that code, right? And
Yeah, especially from
depending
a
on their
performance
expertise, right, their level of knowledge on the platform, right, the right answer is like 35.
perspective.
Right, but
If you
somewhere it
score.
goes into like we get like around 20 responses, 20 25 responses by that time, right?
Yeah. So that's a difference now. So we covered platform architecture, we covered integration solution architecture.
Mm-hmm.
Integration solution architecture a bit more detailed technical knowledge and more of a tactical solution that
Mm-hmm.
should align with your platform or enterprise architecture, and that's where you have your solutions ready. Then
Yeah.
only you can say the solution is ready, hand it over to the
But
developer.
see, like the solutions that you're designing should be also plugging into the larger picture. The
Yeah,
larger picture
the-
being the API-led connectivity or the composable architecture, right? So
Absolutely.
there are like constraints that are coming from the platform architecture itself. Like when you're doing an API-led connectivity architecture, there are clear boundaries that we are demarcating, like with bounded context models, with data models, with anti-corruption layers and things like that. So these philosophies has to be also been embraced in the solutions. Otherwise, they will not align with the overall architecture of the enterprise, and those solutions will fail, obviously.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, I think we pretty much covered most of it.
We barely scratch the surface, to be honest. Yeah, we barely scratch
we
the
don't have
surface of it.
hours anyway left,
Yeah.
right? So I'm sure
We
for
can
is
have.
listening, right? So if you have got any questions, please reach out to us. Happy to support you in this. We've been part of various integration solutions globally,
Yep.
large, small scale, different sizes. So yeah, happy to support you in this, and thank you for your time, Shiva, on this.
Thanks,
And
Bejoy.
then
Yeah.
we'll
We should have more sessions like these, like especially on the architecture fronts. Yeah.
Yes, I think we should start drawing diagrams as well, maybe in this.
Yeah, sure.
We'll
Because over a period of time, like that's what is missing, like the architecture part. Solutions, like there are plenty of training videos and meetups and context, right? But on the architecture front, the right way to get the information right now only available for anyone who is going to use MuleSoft, right? Is through official training programs or through the bespoke training programs that we are providing, right? So it's
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you once again, and we'll speak to you later.
Thanks, Mr.